Hi, I'm Forrest Griffin.
Brian Caraway.
And Lisa Tate.
What's up, guys? This is Joseph Benavidez, UFC flyweight.
Hi, this is Greg Jackson, and you're listening to It's MMAzing, and that is an amazing pun.
Get it? Like MMA, but amazing? Amazing.
Radio.
Welcome to It's MMAzing Radio, the podcast where we consider ourselves owners of the UFC with our one share and no longer feel that we want to see John Jones versus Francis Ngannou because we'd like a fucking stock dividend. I'm Dr. Law. With me as always, DJ Mark.
What's up?
Also with me, Kid Presentable.
So is this one share we have, is it like a Bitcoin where I own 1/8 of one?
Well, okay, I was just doing a bit. I didn't buy any stock, but we should have because they're up 20% since opening. They're up actually a little more than 20%. UFC's almost up 25% since
we should jointly buy one share.
I was going to singularly buy 10 shares, and then now it's already up. I'm like, oh, I'll wait till it goes down.
Well, you got stock. You were just bragging about your Regal stock a second ago.
Oh, AMC stock, baby.
I'll throw you, what, $10?
Also joining us this week, my AMC brother, Lavender Gooms.
New York fully opens in about 2 weeks, so I'm looking forward to full theaters and that AMC stock just
That's right, people. Come July, I want you guys packing those theaters for Black Widow, all right? Packing them, all right? Trying to get rich here, all right? Trying to make this podcast, which makes $0 our full-time job, all right? That's what I'm trying to do.
So it'll be a full-time job that makes us no money, but you got enough to keep it afloat.
You know what?
Actually, saying this podcast makes $0 is inaccurate. It costs
us.
It is. The podcast is losing money. All right, this podcast.
You thought Best Buy was doing poorly. Look at
isn't that how this works? Like you don't as long as you don't post a profit, you're a successful business. I thought that's how this works in 2021. Amazon didn't have a profit for years. All right. All right, boys and girls. Sometimes the UFC puts on a card and there's no main event, and that's what's going on this coming weekend. But you know what? We're going to talk about Bellator. We're going to talk about, I'm going to say a word or two about PFL because they're really trying. We're going to talk about some news, some of it good, some of it less good. Stefan's going to pick this guy who's entered the Bellator tournament to win the whole thing because I know how Stefan rolls. First off, Markos, I think I got a new favorite light heavyweight.
Me too.
It is our guy. And I say our guy, I mean Stefan's guy, but you and me are going to co-opt him, and Mike, you might as well get on board too, while we lie and say we were on the trade from the beginning. Prochazka's here, folks. Knocking pools out with spinning back elbows.
Yeah, that was a fantastic fight.
Yeah, I mean, I think I kind of framed the fight a little bit in a way where like, oh man, Dominick Reyes better beat this guy. And not that I don't think that fight was important for Dominick Reyes. I didn't go in with the attitude of like, oh man, we might have a real this might be guy getting a title shot, very soon, if he beats Dominick Reyes. But I think we saw that, Mark. Why don't we talk about these 6 or 7 minutes of violence? I want to say we saw on Saturday night.
Yeah, it was. I've seen Jiri fight before because I saw him fight Ozdemir. It just didn't leave a super. Long impression.
Ozdemir gets knocked out a lot.
Yeah, and I've seen him fight in Ryzen too. He knocked out CB Dalloway, but I mean, I think this was really the performance that's really going to stamp him in my head because it was fantastic. I really like his style, even though it has holes that could be, exploited with some of his future opponents. But definitely with Dominick Reyes, when I was watching the match, Bobby, his overall body language and face, it really reminded me of the Sensei doing hard sparring with the lesser trainee because he had the smile on his face. He was kind of putting his head out there like, come on, give me a shot. Let's see what, and it really comes down to and I think I do frequent this one YouTube channel called The Weasel. And I think he does really good breakdowns. I really enjoy a lot. And other fighters have mentioned this before, how some fighters get into what they call a flow state where it's not necessarily that this guy is setting up things. He's just kind of going with the flow throughout the whole fight. And that is his style because his whole offense and defense is completely reliant on one. I think the most important thing that people aren't talking about is his eyes. He's young. He has quick reflexes. And that's why he can do the things he's doing in this fight because it all came. I mean, one, I'm going to point out the eyesight because I think that's the most important thing. I think that's how he negated getting knocked out in this fight. But that comes to the more visual aspect of that, it's all about movement and head movement. Because he's all about, he keeps his hands low, which makes it hard to predict, what punches he's going to throw. And when he's negating the distance, he just steps in. There's not a setup, there's not a jab to get into distance, there's not a kick to measure the distance. He rushes in, and sometimes he rushes in with no offense. I mean, there was one time early in the fight where he took a big step in. He didn't really throw anything, and the next thing you know, they're chest to chest with each other, just standing there like, whoa, wait, I did. Reyes didn't really have an opportunity to catch him coming in, and throughout the rest of the fight, he would come in with a lot of different strikes. He had a lot of feints. I mean, feints that were like, they're not even feints. These are like Muhammad Ali. He's throwing his right hand out way to the side, like, oh, I'm going to hit you with this, and he throws a front kick. But it was really just his selection of strikes and just his movement and confidence in there that really impressed me the most. And this was a fight I watched like 3 or 4 times just because it was so fun to watch.
Yeah, it was just what a performance from the young man there. And Steph, I mean, you were on this guy's hype train early. What is there to say, man? Do we fuck around and give this guy someone who knows how to wrestle real well, or let's just let's not ruin the fun and find out something we don't want to find out?
I know we were talking a little bit before we started the show, but I think Mark heard the same kind of fallout chatter that I did. It seems like he's on deck. They're gonna go ahead and do Jan versus Glover, and I'm all for it, right? The thing is, I love Jan, right? But I'll be the first to concede there's not a lot of name power in light heavyweight right now. So let's not kill any contenders, right? Jiri, though he might not be a name, clearly he has a fun style, right? And that's something you can sell. You can sell him as an action fighter. So we'll just leave it on deck, and then
September 4th.
Fun fight either
Sorry
way.
to interrupt you, but September 4th is when I thought it was sooner. I feel we saw sooner, but September 4th, UFC 266. Jan versus Glover, so we might actually get another one in. It's still only May.
We're bearing the lead here too, right? I was leading up to it. The knockout is what everyone saw.
Oh, of course.
We can't just talk about his next fight and not mention that. Like,
he saw those knockouts last
year contender.
I was gonna say he saw those fights, the knockouts the week before with Rose and Usman. He's like, I gotta bring it big if I want to get knockout of the year talk, and he did. That was beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, I think breaking down, I think there's definitely holes in his game because of how he moves in, because he doesn't have his hands up, and he can get caught. And I think his first fight with Odemir, he got caught quite often. He got caught in this fight. I think he won the first round, but in the second round, he got caught with a big left hand that shook him up, and he went in for a shot, and that one really hurt. But then in the second round, after he got the shot and actually showed pretty good ground game in the first round, Dominick was able to get him down. And then once Dominick advanced to mount, he used that opportunity to give up his back and slip out the back door. And then in the second round, when he got caught really hard and looked seriously hurt, like his movement stopped for a second. So he was like, oh, I don't have my feet underneath me anymore. He went for a takedown. Dominick went for a guillotine. He was able to get out of the guillotine and then showed some good movement on the top, passing guard, frequently. And then the ending sequence was he was able to get basically half guard or side mount and just started teeing off ground and pound. Dominick was able to give up his back, get back on his feet. And then once he crowded him up against the cage, Dominick kind of covered up, and, Jiri very smartly, seeing him cover up, said, like, I'm going to blast through the guard with some elbows. He did one right elbow to kind of break the guard. He got Dominick to kind of stand up after that. He threw another hard right elbow that he actually threw it so hard, it threw him off balance. He had to use his right back leg to step forward. It put him in an off position where basically he was exposing his back to Dominick. Dominick realized it. He's like, this is a perfect opportunity. Dude's right in my face. I'm going to blast him with a left hand. Before I get that left hand off, spinning back elbow, demolished Dominick Reyes. And it meets all my criteria of knockout of the year. Fantastic strike, hilarious falling. That's how you get a contender. Because it's, you can have a fun strike, but if the dude doesn't fall flat on his face, you're going to have a hard time selling that for knockout of the year.
Mike, John Jones leaves the division. We wonder, okay, what's going on here? And now the division somehow seems more interesting than it's been in 4 years, maybe? Whenever DC left. How many times have we seen this, man? Dominant champ leaves. All of a sudden, the division looks like it might have some legs.
Well, yeah, of course. And I don't think it's that while John was champ and John was at 205 that, people weren't doing things like this. It's just that if we ever saw like a 205er actually do something like this, I don't really think we gave two shits about it because we just thought, well, can he beat John Jones? No, okay, that was cool. All right, let's keep it moving. But now that we're in the whole new world of that 205 is just wide open, yeah, it sounds like a pretty nice prospect that I'm not even going to try and pronounce this dude's name. That
Prochazka. Go ahead.
Sure. He gets his knockout, and we're like, well, he's going to be the next contender because for better, for worse, what else is there really right now?
Fair enough. By the way, I heard some people saying like, oh, that Dominick Reyes win for John Jones doesn't look so good anymore because Dominick Reyes just sucks now or yada, yada, yada. I was looking at what happens to people after they fight John Jones. It goes bad for everybody not named Daniel Cormier. Shit falls off a cliff when you fight John Jones. Dominick Reyes, Diego Sanchez, Anthony Smith, Gustafsson, Daniel Cormier, skipping him. OSP.
So maybe
Daniel
when
Cormier
John
again.
Jones used to say he beats the weakness out of you, he just beats the shit out
Yeah, I
of you,
was
and then
gonna
you're
say.
not good at anything
Well, there you go.
anymore.
Like, I'm back at Glover Teixeira in 2014. It took Glover 7 years to make it back, man. 7 years. Like, I don't know. You fight John Jones. It's like losing the Super Bowl, where the next year you like lose 12 games, basically. That's what happens when you lose to John Jones. Co-main event. Giga Chikadze kicked my guy Cub Swanson right in his belly. Well, in his liver.
I
And
think the line that I heard, Bob, that I liked was he was digging for coconuts in the palm trees.
Oh, I like that. 'Cause he has a palm tree tattoo there.
man got his second straight UFC performance of the night. I guess I should pay attention to who this gentleman is. That was, I don't think they got a lot of other Georgian fighters either in the UFC. But that was a big win for him, man. Cub Swanson, old or not, Cub Swanson's still a name, and he's not viewed as totally washed. He's viewed as let's have a banger with Cub. And there was no banger to be had. Cub got kicked in the stomach and was like, well, I'm just gonna lay here now. I don't know what else to say. It was a big win for him. You guys got anything?
I was just gonna say the liver kick was. I mean, yeah, there's not
It was
much to
beautiful.
extrapolate from the fight, but it was beautiful, and it reminded me of this Japanese fighter Ken Suari Kakuna, who actually had a bit of a stint in UFC. He lost to Tony Ferguson, but one of his main weapons was in karate. I guess they call it the crescent kick. It's basically like a front kick, but you're basically landing the kick with the ball of your foot and basically your toes. And this kick was very reminiscent of that, except it kind of came more of in a Thai style. But when you can land that, the ball of your foot or even your toes into that section, I mean, it's one thing when you throw a shin kick, you have this big, long, hard bone that you're smacking in. But when you can get a precision of the ball of the foot or even the toes, like you have to think about when you hit something really hard, when you have a big surface area, the impact it's big, it's expanded. When you hit something straight on and all of the pressure is on this smaller point, it makes it a much more devastating strike. And that's exactly what he has here. And that's a dangerous weapon to look forward to. So, yeah, I think you definitely have to keep an eye on this guy. It'll be interesting to see where he goes.
I will say one thing. I don't know how many of you guys did karate, but did you guys ever have it happen where like you were hitting the heavy bag and let's say you kind of hit the heavy bag with your toes? That shit would hurt like a motherfucker. So I wonder, like, these guys willingly like try to hit these people with their toes. Like, well, what are their big toes made out of?
I don't know, but Mark's explanation of a big area versus small area made me laugh because I learned that fact from the Mick Foley autobiography when I was, 12, 13 years old, where Mick explained if you're going to get hit with a bed of nails, the goal is to get hit with as many as possible and not one, because one would do too much damage. And you kind of want to get you want to get it the force spread out. And I'm like,
one nail will pierce all the way through. 50 nails can't all get through at one time.
I remember reading that
wait. That doesn't make sense with that though, because each nail is its own individual point.
Right, but to get through 50 nails, your pressure when you push down has to be harder, right? Because now you're not just going through one nail; you have to go through 50 nails. So because it's a physics thing.
Yeah, Mike, king of the death match. King of the death match 95. Okay.
The guy in the mask who spoiled all the magic tricks. Remember that guy from when we were younger? It's the bed of nails.
Yeah.
It's called surface area tension.
Yeah.
The more surface area there is, the less actual that point is.
That's why the only chair shot they allow in WWE is the back chair shot where everybody's bent over and it's real like spread that out. No one's gonna hit with a chair directly to the dome at that point. All right. All right. Stefan, you want to talk about random Markos before we move on? Because this was absurd.
Yeah, I didn't know who this person is, Luana Pinheiro, but that's kind of the other storyline that came out. I admittedly didn't catch the fights, but I saw the clusterfuck that this was. In a scramble, Randa throws an up kick at what is very obviously a grounded Pinheiro. They're both kind of scrambling on the ground. I will say it's kind of a slapping kick, right? It swings and kind of the ball of the foot catches it on the chin. And as someone who has been dropped by an up kick from an ex-girlfriend, I know what the force of an up kick is, and it does hit you pretty good. Mike, there's a story for you later, because I can see
we all learn. Yeah, so everybody listening just learned a little bit about Stefan's life.
You know what? You sometimes you're into experimenting, Mike. That's how it goes. But that said, I think by all accounts, most people are like, I don't know about that kick. You want to give the benefit of the doubt. You don't want to immediately go, this person's faking. But Paul Felder sure as hell did. It took every ounce of professionalism in him to not call out that this girl is faking. And then really what sealed it, though, was at the end of the fight was this girl's cornerman carried her like it was the bodyguard, and that was Tina Turner. And
that was the correct reference, Stefan. Good job.
And just like he was saving her from this devastating upkick, and that was just too much, guys. I've seen Stefan Struve had a crack in his jaw and his skull from a haymaker from Mark Hunt, and he walked out on his own. Unless you are Chris Weidman and you break your leg and you literally can't stand, pretty much every fighter walks to the back, regardless of the destruction that they face. So this slapping upkick resulting, this woman is technically 9-1, but I would not be unsurprised if it's a long time before we see her in the UFC again after that kind of shenanigans.
Well, it looked like she almost fucking died from an upkick. We probably shouldn't see the medical suspension should be 6 months at least.
Not to dwell on it too much. I heard about this but did not see it. So Stefan, you need to tell me, how was he carrying her? Was it a fireman's carry? Was it over the shoulder? Was it cradled in his arms?
It's the cradled. So he's got the legs and then the back, and then she's hugging around his neck.
I was gonna say, if you're getting carried out of the octagon, the only way should be on a stretcher, right? Because I don't think that's a medical way to hold anybody to, if they're seriously injured and can't walk on their own, is to kind of cradle them. So I was like, I don't know. That's
because if you're concussed to holy hell, which supposedly this upkick would do, you have to stabilize the head.
Right.
If you've ever ridden on a stretcher, it eats all the shock and absorption.
I've never seen a paramedic carry somebody out of it. I mean, maybe a fireman. I think it's a fireman's carry. They made a whole special way to carry people out of that. You never see that except in the bodyguard, and that's why that reference was so good.
You never see a paramedic do a fireman's carry. That's literally the shit reserved for a building's on fire. We gotta get you out of here.
Correct, Mike. Correct.
Hence fireman's carry.
All right, so that was the UFC. I think they were in the Apex, I'm assuming.
I think so, yeah.
Also, just speaking about headshots, I looked up Undertaker Maven headshot with the chair.
That was
holy shit.
Man, poor Maven. We thought he was going to be something. Good entrance music.
Had a hell of a drop kick.
Hell of a drop. Al Snow taught that drop kick well in Tough Enough. Mike doesn't know about Tough Enough. Tough Enough was a...
I remember Tough Enough. Maven and some other chick were the first winners.
Yeah, and then
and Triple H was in one of the episodes where he gave a real impassioned speech on how this shit is serious.
Yeah,
and the fat black dude laughed when he left the ring. I remember that.
That one dude, I think it's been announcer this whole time. I think he was the little one who I forgot his name. I remember that was the guy I was rooting for, and then the other guy runs the Brain Institute. For concussions, the one with the Harvard. Anyway,
I believe wasn't the runner-up or one of the run-ups is the one who became John Morrison, right?
That was the second one.
That was the second season.
Yeah, because the guy who won it, and this is a sad story. The other guy had a tumor.
Nowitzki?
No, not Nowitzki. Nowitzki was first season. The guy in the second season who beat John Morrison ended up having a tumor. The blonde kid. Tough Enough was, you know what? I'll say it. I'm not a big reality show guy now, but back then I really liked Tough Enough. It made me appreciate Al Snow.
And I just gotta mention Sleep because there's one thing that sticks with me about Tough Enough above every other guy. No, it's the guy. It's the guy. I think he became a commentator for a while and was like the interviewer guy. It's just they're doing the interview testimonial where you don't hear what the interviewer says. You just hear him respond. It's like, how many times do I masturbate a day? I don't know.
That's the guy. That's the guy he's an announcer on. He's the announcer on Impact.
There's just a little pause, and he goes, "Is that a lot?" And then cut away, and that's what I will forever remember about Tough Enough.
The best thing that's ever happened to Tough Enough, we're talking about Tough Enough real quickly, is that Stone Cold asked some lady, what's her favorite match of all time? Of all time. And this young lady just goes, Melina versus Alicia Fox. And that's the gif of Stone Cold going, okay, this is a visual element, but he like looks, and he's going to say something, and he just turns around and gives up. Because he's like, Melina versus Alicia Fox. Like, you can tell this poor girl watched one match the previous week, and it was that one. Anyway. Man, they should do they put Tough Enough on the on Peacock? That's what they got to put on there. Just teaching headshots from the chairs. Anyway, so some news this week. We lost Yoel Romero versus Rumble Johnson for this weekend because nothing is fair. The world's a dark, dark place. Yoel had some sort of pre-fight medical thing that he didn't pass. I think it was his eye, they said. So Bellator's got a stand-in opponent for him against Rumble Johnson, and Ben Folks put it well. It's not a tournament without a late entry who could end up winning the whole fucking thing instead. So we'll talk about that fight later on. We're making our picks. Other news, there's no main event this weekend. There was no co-main event up until like an hour or so ago. But we lost Corey Sandhagen, TJ Dillashaw, because TJ got a pretty gnarly cut. And it looks like rather than give Corey a replacement, they want to save that fight.
That's good.
Yeah.
It shouldn't take too long to heal. Maybe a month or so.
I don't know. It depends. I mean, yeah, a month or so. Let's see how close he was. You know, he's going to go through cutting and all that shit. I don't know when they pulled it exactly. That was man. We lost two fights, really, Mark. That I was very excited for this weekend. And then we lost Donald Cerrone versus Diego Sanchez because we're on like the fourth coach or person that has influenced Diego Sanchez, and milked him for money. There were those guys in LA. There was Dan Quinn. There was like a high school wrestling coach. And now we're on Joshua Fabia, who we all recognize was a leech and terrible for Diego's career, but the rubber has met the road, and Diego doesn't have a job anymore. They kept playing recorded videos where Joshua complained about not getting enough respect, and then he tried to trap the UFC in some weird lawsuit, and the UFC's lawyer's like, if you're trying to say he can't sign something saying he's medically able to fight, then he's released. And then he got released.
I think, there's a lot of fighters that get stuck in their contracts and want to get released. They should just go to this guy and be like, why don't you train me for a month and be a dipshit, and then they'll release me and I can go fight in Japan or whatever.
I was listening to the co-main event podcast, and it made me sad, the description they gave of Diego, where Diego was kind of like a stray dog that MMA took in and didn't treat him right, because we're like 17 years in with Diego, and it's just ending bad. And this guy's gonna take a bunch of money from Diego, and I don't know, man, he's like 35, 36 years. How old is Diego? He's got to be close to 40. We got to be close. I mean, it was tough one. So I both want Diego to get money, and I also don't want this guy to get Diego another job because he's going to take the money. You know what I'm saying, Mark? It's kind of like a weird situation now where he's trying to get look, I'll just say it, bare knuckle.
I mean, that's a good ass bet. That's a good ass bet.
Are we out of Jake Paul, or is Jake Paul? This is below. Who? This is. Oh Jesus, that'd be sad. Is he? I mean, Coker's not going to touch this.
I'm not saying. I mean, Diego can't be that big of a cash cow at this point, right? Like, for this guy to be latching on to him.
No, but he's the only one that he could latch onto. The other cornerman is Stephan Bonner, who last time I saw Stephan Bonner it was a citizen's arrest for him getting him drunk driving.
Oh, you didn't see the newest one? The last time I saw him, he was in a gym getting kicked out for not wearing a mask. And
that's
he was
true.
Like, oh,
that happened
too. I was like, Stephan Bonner.
That's true. That was also Stephan Bonner. Jesus. I don't know what else you can say. I mean, Scott Coker is not going to hire him. Scott has a line. If Diego Sanchez, if BJ Penn can't get a job with Scott Coker, with Rich Chow as his matchmaker, I don't think Diego Sanchez is getting a job.
Yeah, I think you kind of said. I think the saddest part about the story is, just Diego putting in a lot of work, giving us a lot of exciting fights, and this unceremonious departure is kind of honestly, because when I heard this story and him getting released, I didn't realize he was this close to having a fight again. I thought he was in between fights and some shenanigans came up, and now it's done. I was like, he was going to fight this weekend. So it is just it's really unfortunate, these events. And I remember when you first brought up this coach, Bob, and I was like, is he really that bad? And then I watched a couple of videos oh yeah, this dude is once you dig in a little bit, you're like, oh yeah, this guy's a joke. Yeah, he's this is not a good scenario. So it is really unfortunate. I do.
Yeah, he's given us a lot, man.
Yeah,
he's honestly given us a lot of entertainment over the years, and
I mean, sometimes it's blood skirting out of his head as BJ Penn beats the crap out of him. But he went in there, he bled for us, and entertained us, and this isn't the way you would want him to go out. But it's just it is what it is. You align yourself with certain people, and sometimes the ramifications aren't what you feels right. But
I don't know what else there is to say, but hopefully he realizes sooner rather than later. I bet the UFC would give him his job back if he got rid of this guy. Though Diego probably shouldn't be fighting anybody, if we're being honest, at this point with Diego, but we know he hasn't saved his money.
I think bare knuckles makes a lot of sense, Bob.
I think bare knuckles. Oh, did you see bare knuckles?
See him there.
Did you guys catch bare knuckles signed Rachel Ostovich? And they also signed Pearl Gonzalez.
Oh my god.
I thought
you guys
Pearl was in Invicta.
No, Pearl's in bare knuckle. So I just want to say Paige Van Zandt, Pearl Gonzalez, Rachel Ostovich. Bare knuckle has realized what they're going for in terms of the marketplace. So
I mean, I like Rachel a lot, but she's a wrestler through and through.
This is gonna be just bad.
She's not a striker. She is a wrestler. She wins with wrestling. So bare knuckle does.
She should fight Paige. That's what they should do.
I was about to say there's about to be a rematch between the two.
They've also booked Hector Lombard versus Diesel. Joe Riggs, baby. Yeah. Joe Riggs is still doing it.
That's why I see Diego fitting in so well here with the tenure of Joe Diesel Riggs in there. I was like,
do you remember when Joe Diesel Riggs won the Bellator version of the Ultimate Fighter? And we're like, man, Joe shouldn't have been in this. He's too old to win this. That was 5 years ago.
I don't remember them even having
was that just no? That had to have been more than 5 years ago.
It was
sure. It was like a decade ago, probably.
Also, going back to Diego, we haven't seen many MMA guys like this. Whereas with boxers, you see a lot of the punch drunk guys. The guys that slur their words a lot. We're gonna get there with Diego.
Honestly, look, if you listen to how Diego talks,
just because of how much he's fought.
Well, you can just pull up how he doesn't sound the same. If you look up Tough One, Forrest doesn't sound the same. You listen to Forrest on Tough One, Forrest in his last interview, they don't sound the same. They don't. It's the nature of the beast. They've also booked Thiago Alves on that card, on the same card as Hector Lombard versus Joe Riggs, and then Joey Beltran is also on that card. So, I mean, they're going for it.
Yeah, they know they're doing.
Happening. Yeah, okay. Let's just get into some picks. Yeah, we're going to talk about Bellator.
It's happening. There's no UFC.
There's no UFC.
I mean, there is, but there isn't.
Look, Angela Hill's fighting. She's somewhere on the card, right? She's fighting. There's fights that are interesting happening. PFL's happening on Thursday.
Michelle Watterson is fighting, if I'm right, isn't she?
Michelle Watterson's fighting?
Isn't she?
Stefan, as our resident Michelle Watterson former fanboy, what is Michelle Watterson fighting?
So, Bobby, I checked out. That was an unfollow months ago.
Okay. PFL this Thursday, Fabricio Verdum's fighting. Just want to say PFL's really trying, guys. They're really making an effort. Maybe I'll watch this one. I won't. but Verdum's on there.
I was wrong on the Michelle Watterson fighting part.
Fair enough. Bellator, coming to you from, assuming the Mohegan Sun, if I'm being honest. I'm not really sure. Juan Archuleta, Sergio Pettis, gonna fight for that bantamweight title. Sergio Pettis famously left the UFC when the UFC forgot that he had no more fights left on his contract. And you know that's what happened because they tried to announce a fight for him and then realized he had no more fights left on his contract. Since then, went to Bellator, won 2 fights, fighting for the championship against Juan Archuleta. Juan Archuleta, the Bellator bantamweight champion, won that title, which was vacant in his last fight against Patchy Mix. 25-2 overall. Wins over Henry Corrales, Eduardo Dantes. Betting line for this one, Stefan.
Yeah, I got it. It's pretty close. Archuleta is the minus 160 favorite to Sergio's plus 130.
I'm gonna take Sergio. I've watched Juan fight a few times. This is a bad idea. I recognize that because Sergio doesn't knock people out and Juan does. But I keep thinking Sergio's is turning a corner, and I don't know. He left the UFC on a win. He's won 2 straight in Bellator. I think they would like him to be their champion. I'm just mostly just rolling on that. But I'm really already questioning this decision. But I got Sergio. Mike?
I'm going to go with Sergio as well. I'm a sucker for a brand name. And one of these guys had a brother who was on a Wheaties box.
Okay. Stefan?
So speaking of that Wheaties box, let us all take a short trip down memory. What happened in his last fight? That's right, he lost. I do not think the Pettis brothers are very good. So when they win, it is a pleasant surprise. But most of the time, I don't think they're going to win. And Sergio is a worse version of it. He's a lower ceiling version of his brother. So I will take Juan Archuleta, who I have never seen fight before.
Marcus?
I'm really glad, Bob, you and Mike picked Sergio because I think it's an interesting, compelling enough fight that we should have a mix. But it definitely made me easier to pick Juan, even though
I thought I set it up for all of you. I thought I set it up for all of you to pick Juan, and then Mike's like, "No, man, I'm gonna jump in this ditch with you."
When you mentioned to me earlier today, like, "Oh, we should pick Bellator instead," I was like, you know what? The Sergio Pettis fight is kind of interesting because we know who Sergio is. We've seen him fight. I didn't think any of us would remember Juan. I probably saw him fight, but I can't remember him out of the lineup. And I'm looking through his Wikipedia page trying to figure out, like, okay, when did he get this belt? And I was like, okay, he just won the belt from this guy, Patchy Mix.
Yeah, it's called he couldn't beat Pitbull. And then Pitbull is no longer champion.
This guy's name's Patchy Mix. I was like, that's a made-up name. That's a fake name. Whose name Patchy Mix? I don't understand.
Sounds like that's what happens when you don't mix the concrete right.
I mean, patchy and mix is like, they're like the same thing, right? Like something that's mixed would be patchy, right? Because they're mixing 2 things together. I don't know. I saw that. I was like, what? Who? Yes, I'm going to go with Juan, but there's no analysis here. This is purely picking against Sergio, against a guy who has a pretty good record. But, Sergio can absolutely pull it off. It'll be interesting.
All right. We got no Yoel Romero, but goddamn it, we're committed to this Bellator tournament. Anthony Rumble Johnson versus Jose Augusto. Who's Jose Augusto? Well, he's a Brazilian singer-songwriter. He is 67 years old, and he's from Rio de Janeiro. It's possible it's a different Jose Augusto in this fight, if I'm being honest. No, this Jose Augusto, a.k.a. Gugu, is 7-2, 29 years old. He's a teammate of the Pitbull brothers, which means the man craves violence. And he's going to fucking find it in Anthony Rumble Johnson. Stefan, there's not even betting odds for this one, are there?
There is no betting line for this. So shall we all just call this a sweep?
Yeah. Does anybody think this gets out of the first round? Just honestly. Rumble hasn't fought since...
Yeah, I was going to say, it's been a while since Rumble fought. Maybe he just wants to
He looks like he's in good shape. He looks like he's in good shape, man. Rumble looks trim. I'm excited to see Anthony Johnson fight. I have his shirt somewhere. Stefan's got it too. It just says Rumble.
Dig it out for this one, Bob.
Dig it out for this one.
I'm all for us padding our win-loss total.
They say they're going to rebook that fight though. So when Rumble's done with this tournament, We get Yoel versus Rumble.
Okay, that's good.
Other than
I mean,
not just going to rebook it within the tournament.
They should.
By the way, you have round 2.5.
It's just it just turns into the Mortal Kombat tournament for Anthony Johnson. He's got to fight everybody.
Romero he's actually figured out a cheat code. He's actually now just going to become the alternate for when someone has to bow out later.
Just do that.
How confident are you that he's just going to get a title shot without winning a fight in Bellator? Because that's how Romero does this thing.
Can we also just talk about how happy we are that the medical reasons why he got pulled wasn't the juice? It was just like some actual just benign medical thing.
Yeah, benign. Eye injury. I definitely don't have quotes up.
I do have one question before we go on. Because I know a lot of you speak Spanish, and Portuguese is very... What the fuck does Gugu mean? Like, there has to be a meaning. You can't just nickname yourself Gugu with a straight face.
I mean, the dude's name is Jose Augusto Azevedo Barros, and Gugu... I don't know.
That's not what I know.
Dude, I know you're not a soccer fan, but like literally every Brazilian soccer player ends up with some fucking nickname. It's probably some shit like that.
I thought you were going to tell me like, a Gugu is like, he's the next generation's Pele. And I was like, okay.
Them Brazilians love giving themselves nicknames. I remember watching the last World Cup where they did the soccer lineups for the Brazil team. There wasn't an actual fucking name in the whole lineup.
Mike's about to put
Hulk.
That defender, he plays for a Russian club. His name is just Hulk, and I'm like, what's this real guy's name? Oh, there's not the letter H isn't anywhere in his name. He's just Hulk.
I'm not hating it. As someone that butchers fucking names, I love a repeating name like Gugu, but I'm just like,
I mean, look, you guys think Henan Barrow's real name was Barrow? That just means Baron. That was his nickname.
It means something. But what does Gugu mean? Because when I think Gugu, the next thing I'm thinking is Gaga, and I'm thinking of babies, and my head's out of the MMA game.
Dude, there was a soccer player, his name was just Kaka. Okay?
There's a precedent for this. Okay, I understand
now. The lesser Pitbull brother, we're sure this time, is fighting on this card as well. And Mike and the new Bellator 175-pound division, apparently, which is reigned over by Paul Daly, if you ask Paul Daly. Look, Michael Venom Page lost to Douglas Lima a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, the bum parade in front of him has been extensive. He's got wins over four people, 3 of them by knockout, 1 Wikipedia page with these 4 people. 1. Derek Anderson, his opponent this weekend, is the first person that he's fighting in quite some time that anybody's ever heard of. Derek Anderson is actually a pretty good fighter. Unfortunately, Derek Anderson has made his bones a weight class below this at 155 pounds. He is not a welterweight necessarily. And he is, look, they booked this fight for a reason. Betting God, Stefan.
Venom Page, minus 295 to former Oregon State quarterback Derek Anderson's plus 235.
Okay, who you got, brother?
I don't like Michael Venom Page, and I subscribe to He Fights Nothing But Cans, Paul Daly included. So on a complete limb, I am going to go with NBA journeyman shooting guard Derek Anderson for the big upset, and maybe he's not a can. I don't know who he is. Bobby, this is what I say. When I make a pick, this is the basis of why are we picking Bellator fights, but if we're picking Bellator fights, like if we had picked that, what was the one where I would have called Mighty Mouse's Loss correctly had we decided to bother with it? Why not pick something nutty here?
I've already forgot that guy's name.
Yeah, we don't know who he is, but he had the downward.
In fairness, I mean, Anderson is absolutely not he's not a scrub here, but yeah, I got MVP. I just want to say, I feel we've been doing this dance with MVP for years. Like, how long have we been acting like this guy? I mean, he's 34 years old now, for fuck's sake. He got into Bellator in 2014. He started at 6-0. He's 18-1. He's got to fight some fucking people, man. This is Bellator at welterweight. They got bodies. All right? What's Koreshkov up to? Is he champion? What's Lorenz up to? Huh? Lorenz is 170? Why can't he fight Lorenz? Like, it's time, man. He's going to win this fight, though. I got MVP. He might struggle. It might be a decision. Actually, it's probably going to be a decision. But I got MVP. Mike?
I have MVP winning against Derek Anderson, who may or may not have been the Derek Anderson who was in Dr. Dolittle 3, Terminator Salvation.
What has this guy
Postal,
not done?
And Ball. We're not sure which Derek Anderson it is, but has quite a repertoire in his arsenal. With that said, Michael Venom Page, who's booking these fights for him? Is it that like Bellator offers him people and he's just like, nah, bruv, give me someone worse? Like, what is it? What is it with this guy? That was awesome.
That was a terrible bruv.
That was great.
That was garbage.
Stop hating. Stop hating.
Garbage.
Right.
Look, I mean, Mark, you want to make your pick?
Yeah, I've learned a lot about Derek Anderson now. He's a basketball player. He's a quarterback. He's an esteemed film actor, apparently. I'm still going with Venom
Dr. Dolittle 3. I'm not saying esteemed.
Esteemed. And if we're lucky, he'll catch him in a Pokeball.
Yeah, I'm at the point.
I mean, you remember when he smashed Cyborg's skull in and they threw a Pokeball at him? I'm not the only one.
I'm at the point where I actively root for MVP to lose just because I'm done with this bullshit, to be honest.
Honestly, I do think Scott Coker has adopted him as his son. Because not only does he give him easy fights, his last two fights and this fight have all been catch weight. Because he's like, okay, you can't even make the weight class you want. I'm going to make garbage fights.
Well, I mean, legitimately, look, Derek Anderson's not a bad fighter. He's fought for the championship at the weight class below, but like, come on, man. Like, come on. God, I hope he just gets grappled for 15 minutes. It'd be wonderful. Anyway, yeah. Bellator. You guys tried. This is actually pretty good. You know what? It would be a really good card for Bellator standards if they had it'd be a good it would be a good card for 2021 standards, man. You see these UFC fight nights. It already is not you took away the main event from this shit, and the whole thing fell apart.
I mean, you look at the undercard, too, which I'm looking at here. That Larkin's on the card fighting Rafael Carvalho. How do you say his name?
Carvalho?
Yeah.
He was a champion, too.
He was a champion. And guess what guy I was just shitting all over who's showing up here? Our boy Patchy Mix is in the mixer.
Patchy Mix is here. Patchy Mix. You know what? I was getting ready to get that Showtime trial to watch Rumble versus Yoel. I'm a little bummed. I mean, if I got nothing to do... I mean, I don't. So maybe if I remember, I'll watch Archuleta. Pretty Tony Pettis' kid brother. Anyway, before we go, I just want you guys all to know that if you illegally streamed Triller Fight Club's Ben Askren versus Jake Paul fight,
still got time.
You still got time to pay them because they are coming for your ass.
And all of us here paid for it, obviously.
I mean, we all did. They got $50 from each of us. $200 right here. 250 times 4 right here.
I mean, but I made it back, you guys.
I made that money back because, like Snoop Dogg, I bet a lot of money on Jake Paul because that was the smart money. And you know, when you lose the picks this year just because you didn't believe that you're gonna rue that day.
Yeah. Again, $200. It was $49.99, but everybody here was like, "Nah, man, round up."
Here's that cent for you.
We need Snoop Dogg to get rolling papers, all right? That penny goes to Snoop Dogg's rolling papers. Like,
also, this head of piracy at Triller, I don't think he quite understands because he says that he's gonna get all of the VPNs to give up all of their customers. I don't think he quite understands the point of VPNs and the reason why people pay for them.
I mean, I am not familiar with VPNs, and it's not like I currently pay for 2 different VPNs. But that is not how they work. That is. I mean, does he think VPNs and incognito mode are the same thing? Legitimate question. Is that what he thinks? Because I'm about to,
I mean, the reality is, like, it is a problem. It's a major problem. People illegally streaming stuff, and I understand the frustration with these promotions, being upset that so many people are able to illegally stream and watch their content for free. It is an issue with the industry, but this like guilt trip they're running on like the 12-year-olds about like, yo, we're going to come for $150,000, you 12-year-old. If you don't pay, we know you got a guilty conscience, pay up now. It's just like, this is scare tactics and just makes them look kind of pathetic and sad.
Don't let them give you this bullshit. Oh, you're taking money out of the fighters' pockets. This is what you do if you want to support one of these fighters. Would you like to support Ben Askren? I'm sure Ben Askren sells a fucking t-shirt. Go buy the t-shirt.
True.
All right? He'll make more on that than he ever did on your pay-per-view buy. Straight up.
I mean, I get it. They obviously.
No,
and we
I get
talked
it too,
about
but like it's like you can't come off as here. Look. I'll give them this though, because I was about to equate it to the UFC. They really tried to earn your money on this fucking thing. They threw everything they could at you. All right, we got. I'm
not gonna applaud the monkey that threw his feces all over the
No,
wall.
but
And be
like,
like,
look,
he tried. He tried
we
to get
we got the UFC raising prices. All right, while maintaining an 80-20 split with their fighters, just arbitrarily. Like, and there's no rhyme or reason to why things cost what they do. Like, I'm just saying, if you don't come off like a bunch of pieces of shit trying to milk people for money,
I think it was inherently kind of a tough sell when your like main target base or one of your biggest stars, like their main audience is young millennials, or what do they call like the generation after us, Zoomers or whatever. Like these people.
Y.
no.
Yeah.
The kids.
Oh, no, I think he's right. It might be Generation Y or something like that.
Generation Y became millennials, which is us.
Yeah.
Zoom,
I think they're Z.
/Zoomers is
okay.
the generation below.
I mean, the thing is, like, it's a problem, but you don't need to have a lot of internet savvy to go on a Reddit and find an illegal stream. And I think what they really need to combat is it's what everyone combats. Combat the people that are uploading the illegal streams. Don't like threaten the people watching it. Like that's not how you go about this. You get the people at the top. You don't fight the drug war by like just arresting the dude on the corner. Like you don't solve anything that way. You solve the people making the drugs. So, not to put a really shitty analogy on it, but yeah, this is just reeks of like they obviously didn't get their buys, and now they're trying to guilt in a bunch of like 12-year-olds to pay.
Mike, mute your microphone. You got a background noise popping in. All right. Stuff we like. All right. Out of the 4 people on this podcast, I'm definitely the one to give the PS5 review. So strap the fuck in, people.
I mean, yeah, Bob, I'll be straight up. When you said that you were getting one, I'm like, great. The one who least wants one. The one who constantly tells me about how his PS4 is collecting dust. I haven't turned it on in months. I don't even play video games anymore. It's like, guess what, guys? I got a PS5.
In fairness, it's not like Bobby was out like scouting for it and the one that bought it.
Well, actually, Bobby was scouting for it because Bobby's been playing a lot more PS4 sitting in his parents' house.
But also, Bobby is the guy that he's going to hunt the lion for. It's all about the hunt for Bobby in the PS5.
That's
it was about. Dude,
I'm still hunting. I'm still hunting for you guys. Like I'll tell Mark something, and Mark's like, "Man, okay, whatever. I'll do it later." Like my brother every day is now. My brother, by the way, is the one who snagged it for me on Amazon when they had a 12:15 a.m. Pacific time, 3:15 a.m. Eastern time drop. And my brother, while driving a car, bought me a PS5. So, I mean, God bless him.
That's a man who's obsessed with the hunt. He loves hunting the shoes. Whatever's hard to get, that's the thing. Nikki's got to get it.
Yeah, it's a challenge. So yeah, I got a PS5. It is huge. Like, physically. It is a massive device. The interface, the UI looks very similar to the PS4, in that I feel Sony gives slightly more of a shit about it than they did before, because before it was just like, here's a list that goes left and right. Here's a list that goes up and down. I got Miles Morales. It's really fun. You guys already played that game though. And the Astro game that comes with it is really cool. I feel someone like Mark probably appreciates it a little bit more than me, because it's just a ton of references to like past Sony products, a lot of old PlayStation products there. So they'll call them out and stuff and say like, you got to like try to find them. And it's like, oh, here's the fucking network adapter from the PS2 or something.
Yeah. So Bob, what I do want to ask you, because I think one of the biggest things about the PS5 that really shocked a lot of like the journalists when they first played it, is the controller, right? It's like,
it's the best part.
Yeah. I mean, as someone who like, doesn't really follow gaming that much. I mean, and I think so the big things on that is the, one, they say that the rumble's really good, right? So when you're walking in sand or you're walking in different environments, like it rumble, and that's something that the Switch also kind of claimed to have. Like their rumble and the Joy-Cons are supposed to be like this new revolutionary thing. And I know for me, like it didn't really equate too much, but a lot of people say like the PS5 controller is that, and then like the triggers, right, are adaptive.
Yeah, the triggers are adaptive. They have a microphone built into it. There's a speaker built into it. That feels, look, the PlayStation controller feel has always been kind of the class of the controller game, at least in my opinion. I'm assuming that's everybody tries to rip it off. So it generally
A lot of
seems
people
like
like
that's
360 too because the analogs
360,
are offset.
360
but-
was good too. Yeah. The feel is great though. It's USB-C, which is one of
That's
those
nice.
things someone like me it's a big deal for. I don't think it has wireless charging. I didn't read anything
don't.
about that.
Yeah, I don't know.
I never read anything about that. It's here's the thing, man. I felt like I played like demo games on the PS4 where it said, "Look at all this shit you can do with the controller," and then I felt a lot of games didn't take advantage of it necessarily. So it seems like it's based on the developer what they're going to do. The what's the square above called in the middle of the controller?
He has like the touchpad thing or whatever.
The sense, whatever it was called, or whatever.
Yeah, I
the
don't really
middle
know
part
if they have like an official.
I don't know what
name.
it's called. Whatever that thing is, that got a lot of use. This Astro game is literally just Astro World, I think it's called or something. It's like
Astrobot Playroom or something. I can't remember what it was called.
It's
exactly.
pretty much just like, hey, look at all the cool shit we can like do.
It's a
and it's
packed-in
also
demo.
like, and also like you
the
it's like a motion
gyroscope
sensor.
Yeah,
it's like it's a motion sensor where you move it and stuff. The controller is the new thing. I mean, I'm sitting here playing it on a ultra wide monitor, which isn't 4K. So I'm not getting the full advantage, though I just learned there is a 4K TV in this house I was not aware of. So I'll probably plug that in. Even without that, you can noticeably, like I was playing regular Spider-Man on this monitor too.
Right.
And this one looks better. The game size, like when I bought Miles Morales Spider-Man, it gave you both. And the PS4 one was 42 gigabytes, and the PS5 one is 52 gigabytes, so a little bit bigger. I can't tell you if the Wi-Fi has gotten better because my opinion always was that the Wi-Fi was shit, personally, on the original. But I'm also on the far end of the house, so I can't really tell you if it's gotten better or worse necessarily because it did take a while to download this 52 gigabyte game. But it was, didn't feel like it took longer than it did with anything else for PS4. And I started using the app, which I don't know if the app did all this shit beforehand, which it probably did, but it made it real easy to sign into stuff. And also there's a feature where if you put your PS4 and like if you connect your PS4 with the Ethernet cable to this thing, you can just transfer your shit over. That's a way too. I did it with a USB jump drive because I didn't have PlayStation Plus. I thought they would give me PlayStation Plus trial when I bought the system because in fairness, that's what they did with the 4.
I mean, in fairness, you just dropped like $500 on it. Why not give you a month?
Give me a month.
Give me a taste.
Yeah, give me something. And then it didn't. But then God bless Stack Social had a 3 years of PlayStation 5 or PlayStation Plus for $86 deal.
And admittedly, Bobby sends me deals like that all the time, and I never bite. And then after I saw you buy it, I was like, "What am I doing? I'm gonna
just fucking.
I have like 3 months. I'm gonna pay $60 for this shit again." And I was like, "You know what? I don't know what this Stacked Overflow bullshit website is. Maybe they're stealing my credit card. Maybe they're not. But I did get 3 years of PlayStation Plus for like $80. So I'm a happy customer.
And then immediately I'm just like turning off the auto renew. I'm like, "Fuck you! In 3 years, I'm not getting nailed for $60. Eat a dick, Sony." Yeah, I mean, I was told I got to get the Alien game. Help me out. The name of the game.
Oh,
Markos.
Returnal that just came out.
Yeah, I've been told to get that.
I'm going to talk about it on my stuff.
Okay, fair enough.
Obviously didn't play it, but I'm going to talk about it.
I mean, I was told that's what's to get because it would look cool, but I also feel I need to plug this into a 4K TV to really enjoy everything that's going on. But it's cool, man. It looks like I don't know, I felt like with the PlayStation 4, I just kind of turned it on and it's like, ready, set, go, motherfucker. This one was more like, hey, you do this, you do that. We want you to enjoy your PlayStation experience. So I'll have more to say as I get, more games. Anyway, but that's it. I got a PS5. I haven't watched anything new. I need something new to watch. I should watch Warrior like the guys are. They seem to be big fans. But that's what I got this week. Mark, you want to keep the video game talk going?
Sure. I have quite a bit of things because I had some stuff last week we didn't get to because we were doing the big Falcon and Mortal Kombat stuff. So I'll talk about Returnal first. Obviously, don't have a PlayStation 5, so I haven't played it. But I've watched some people stream it, and excuse me. I've been really impressed with what I saw. Pardon. What I like about it most is House Marquee is the developer. And this was a studio that was really popular and kind of built their name off making these really smaller, more arcadey type of games. Like one of their biggest games they had on PS4 is also a launch title was Resogun, which is just a side-scrolling shooting game, but it really visually it looked really good for how simplistic it was. But they mentioned a couple years ago like their simplified arcade games just aren't selling. It's just not making the big old bucks that they want. So they're going to do something more kind of, AAA level. And from what I've seen of Returnal is definitely that. Returnal is a roguelike game where you're expected to die and then restart over, and then the maps change. So the layout's a little different. From what I've seen, this being the kind of one of the first big exclusive games for PlayStation 4, the other one being Demon's Souls, which was a launch title, but was also a remake. This is like the first AAA original game for the PS5. Visually, it looks fantastic. From what I heard, audio and the control. I mean, again, I believe House Marquee is a first-party studio now. I'm pretty sure Sony bought them. So they're super inclined to, use the full feature set of the controller. Like Bobby said, Astrobot is really kind of just showcasing to the public and other developers like what the controller is capable of, but it is going to be up to the developers to kind of take that ball and run with it. And from what I've heard from, a lot of interviews with developers, they really like it. And want to implement it in more games. And a lot of games that have been, you get free updates for the PS5 or utilizing some of those features. But yeah, Returnal's been something that definitely looks really good. I mean, Bob, I don't know if I would give it a super hard recommendation for you necessarily. You might like it. It is a little bit. It is.
Man, I just paid $500 for the system and $50 for fucking Spider-Man. They can.
Well,
Sony, we can all pump the brakes a little bit.
So
Let's get to
and
June.
one of the things too is, and they mentioned this before, is they're charging $10 more for first. I mean, for big AAA games when they come out, it used to be $59.99, and now the price tag's $69.99. So it is more expensive. It's a third-person shooter, Twitch-based, almost like a bullet hell type game with a roguelike element, which is really weird in the AAA space. Until last year's Hades came out, roguelites really haven't gotten that kind of, response from critics and stuff of being like a game style that could really penetrate through to the masses. But Hades did. Hades did hit a lot of people and really kind of elevated what you can do story-wise with those games as well. And from what I've heard of Returnal, it's also a fantastic game. So, if you're into those types of things, I would definitely recommend it. But like I said, I have a lot of other stuff to get to as well. And I got stuff in every medium. So I'm going to do movies first. I watched Promising Young Woman and randomly The Conjuring 1 and 2. I kept hearing really good things about Promising Young Woman. It was one of these movies that was getting a lot of Oscar nominations. And I was just hearing good things and then the one that Steven Yeun is in, was it Minori? Those are two that was kind of like, I kind of want to check both those out because they sound really good. So Promising Young Woman was a really fun film. It's weird because I don't watch a lot of movies that aren't, directly related from comics or video games. So having like an original screenplay is kind of like a refreshing thing. I don't want to get too much into like the premise, but it's essentially, it's a heavy topic. It's mostly about this young woman getting revenge for her friend, getting raped. Her friend got drunk and, a guy took advantage of her. But the story is really compelling, tough to watch at times, but it really, and it keeps you on your toes. Like you think it's going to go one way and it's constantly kind of turning and bending your expectations of where the story's going, which I thought was really interesting. And, for us, there's a lot of like interesting cameos. Yeah, Bob?
I feel we have breaking-ish news.
Oh, okay.
Where Mike was not off with the Michelle Watterson thing.
I saw that.
Apparently, they're trying to put together Michelle Watterson and Marina Rodriguez to fight this weekend as the main event. Michelle is not officially announced.
All right, I thought I had heard something about Michelle Watterson.
When I checked out, when I did UFC events, it was like, this event is Watterson versus whoever. And I was like, what? And then I clicked on the Wikipedia page and they're not even on, how they have like the box of like main card and prelims. They weren't even listed on that. It was announced bouts.
Well, this is what's going on. Okay. So per Ariel, UFC is yet to officially acknowledge or announce the headliner this weekend. The issue isn't Watterson. She signed. It's more of a logistical issue with Rodriguez. Money. That's me. Not injury/COVID related. Money. They are hopeful it works out ASAP, but that's why no acknowledgement. She wants money. So they're gonna get these women to fight 5 rounds on 1 week's notice because that's not necessary.
It's not even a week's notice. It's like 5 days.
And for the record, I'm taking Marina Rodriguez.
Anyway, sorry, Marcus. Continue.
No. So And me and Christine have also been watching Conjuring 1 and 2 because I think the third one's coming out in June, and I enjoyed them. They're kind of paranormal thrillers. It actually has to do with, I think their name's Ed and Lorraine Warrant, who are actually like these paranormal investigators. They investigated the Amityville house and stuff like that. So it's kind of based on real events. You know, I'm not big into like the paranormal, like ghost or walking among us, because honestly, I'm like, if there's nothing but a dark void of nothingness when you die, and you get a haunted house,
Marcus,
like,
when you started naming these people are paranormal, whatever, I'm like, so they're charlatans. Okay, continue.
I mean, yeah, and you know, I don't pay much into it, but the movies themselves are entertaining enough, you know. And I mean, I've known enough people that I would think like, oh, you like believe in this stuff? It's like, well, I experienced some weird stuff. And it's like, all right, you know, some people believe it. I'm not amongst them, but the movies themselves are really fun. And I do know the third one's coming out, I think on HBO Max in June. And I think around June's when my little subscription's going to end soon. So I might have to ante up for HBO Max again. But I actually really enjoyed Conjuring 1 and 2. They're on Netflix. You know, if you're looking for like a horror flick to kind of, you know, turn on it and, you know, enjoy, I did enjoy both those. On the TV front, I have one series that just ended that I've been mentioning every week, and then an old favorite that I came back to. So I have to mention Invincible that concluded this last week. As someone that read the comics a good long time ago, I was really excited when they announced they're going to do a animated series. And then I do remember IGN started posting up some clips of the show, and I was like, ooh, I don't know if this is really hitting the way I want it to. First episode, actually, they released all three on their first week. They released the episodes. I was sold within like the first 10 minutes of the first episode. I really like the show. I think it does the comic book a lot of justice. I've been watching the reactions of this YouTube channel called Heroes Reforged, who I think those guys are really fun to watch reactions to, especially with Invincible, because they're huge fans of Invincible. So they're letting me know like, oh yeah, this stuff wasn't in the comic book. They expanded upon this and showed more of what happened here that, you know, really kind of filled out, you know, either character arcs or just were cool visual scenes to see. So I really have enjoyed that show, and I was really happy to hear, I guess last week they announced they're going to do seasons 2 and 3. So there's going to be a lot more to come. I thought it was great. And I definitely think if you like The Boys or any of the superhero stuff, Invincible is easily worth your time and investment. You know, it's not a super long series at 8 episodes each. They are a bit longer, which is weird too, because I can't really think of any other animated show that's longer than 30 minutes. And this kind of comes in at the 45, 50 minute mark, which is kind of weird. But I mean, they're great. I've loved the show. I'm really glad they're doing a season 2 and 3. And then an old favorite that I came back to, which has been just fantastic background noise, and a show that I think we all used to watch. I don't know about Mike, but I'm watching Big Bang Theory again. I left off at season 6 or 7, and I just saw it on HBO Max, and I was like, you know what? Let's throw this back in for an old world. And you know, I mean, look, it's not the greatest sitcom in the world, but as background noise, it's doing the trick. Because you know, when I went back in, I was like, oh, there's 6 more seasons of stuff I haven't seen, you know, and it's not the most captivating thing, but you know, when the show first came out, I was thoroughly impressed. You know, it was kind of before geek culture had really kind of like taken over and become pop culture. So it did kind of have that bent of, you know, being almost made for someone that, you know, grew up, you know, loving the same stuff that the guys on the show loved. But as the series wore on, especially as it got more popular, I definitely waned off of it a little bit more. But going back to it, it's just like, yeah, you know, it's not shifting the paradigm. You know, it's not as good as like a Parks and Rec or The Office or anything like that. Even though I don't know if I'd go back to watch The Office, because those later seasons do get a little cringy for my like. But I liked it. I've really been enjoying it. To be completely honest, I've really been enjoying my time with Big Bang Theory. To round it out, I know I've been hogging it. I do have to give some love to my boy Kyle Bossman. He has started up a new series on his YouTube channel called Delayed Input. I shared one of the videos with Steph recently. I've just been a big fan of this guy. Since he left Easy Allies, he's mostly just been doing little streams, which have been completely fun. But I think he does shine with his like kind of scripted content a little bit more. So he started his own show. He started a Patreon for it. He's 2 episodes in. He's going to do a new episode every Thursday. I've been enjoying it. Yeah. So that's what I got for this week.
Mark's out here trying to praise The Big Bang Theory and say bad things about The Office, trying to get us fucking get our podcast that loses money to lose even more money. Jesus Christ!
I mean, how would that work? How are we going to lose more money?
More money. SoundCloud is going to just charge us more for hosting. They're like, we
I
hurt.
like The Office,
we fucking hurt.
But
we
there's
hurt.
seasons like 6 and 7 where they're like selling iPads. I'm like, what the fuck is going on anymore? Like, I don't even recognize this show. But I like Big Bang Theory. You
Different
say what
strokes,
you will.
folks.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say you watched what's it called? What's her name? The lady from Big Bang Theory show on HBO Max. Mike watched it, right?
I thought it was a
Flight
movie.
attendant thing.
I thought it was a
Flight
movie.
attendant. It was pretty good.
It was a
Anyway.
series. I thought it was a movie.
No, it was
It's like a
a
mini
series.
series, murder
Okay.
mystery mini
Oh,
series.
okay. Well, maybe I will check
Mike.
it out. I like her.
Mike, what do you got this week?
Also, very quickly, I was perusing the internet and I saw that there was an actual link for the Triller settlement. And, being a former attorney, I read the fine print. In the fine print, it says, going on to this settlement does not preclude X number of people from still going after you. So
Very nice.
there goes that.
So now it's like you give yourself up. It's like I paid you $50, and now we definitely know you stole it. So now we're gonna go after you more. Nice.
Quick thing for me this week. On a whim last night before I went to bed, I decided to watch the Michael B. Jordan movie that came out on Amazon, Tom Clancy's Without Remorse. One thing I really like about it is that it is a very simple, just revenge flick for you, just kind of based off the military. It's as if it was Charles Bronson's Death Wish, where the whole movie is just a plot of revenge, except Michael B. Jordan's family didn't get gang raped, and Michael B. Jordan is not an old white guy. But his wife and child do die, and he spends the next hour and 40 minutes just hunting motherfuckers down here in the States and then out in Russia. Not much in the way of story, but it was still a good time. So if you have an Amazon Prime subscription, I would watch Tom Clancy's Without Remorse.
Nice. And I heard about that. I didn't know where it was on. So nice to know it's on Amazon. I could watch it.
Because no one just goes to Amazon.
It's true, Bobby. I don't go there to peruse.
I do that on HBO Max.
Except considering that one of the things Mark talked about was Invincible, which is on Amazon Prime.
And I would have never known.
He didn't peruse. Yeah.
If someone had to tell me with a microphone, yo, this is where you got to go to watch this, because I'm not going there to peruse their selections.
Steph, what you got this week, man?
Yeah, kind of be like Mark, where I got a lot of things just because we haven't really done this segment recently. But to kind of follow up on his, I got into Invincible through Mark. I'd seen the trailer, but then Mark actually having history with it, he gave me a lot of the context. I agree. It ended up being a really fun watch. It was one of the things I looked forward to week. And as someone who's not familiar with the comics, it was kind of nice to see. There's a bit of like I've mentioned before jokingly, but Robert Kirkman doesn't like me very much, but I'm a fan of his comics. So it's kind of nice to see what he did before Walking Dead. So it's definitely just an interesting take. I love superhero content. Can't get enough. Big Bang Theory. I can't give you a second, Mark. Unfortunately, a YouTube channel I like called Wisecrack. They did a video that broke down what is wrong with Big Bang Theory. And it's kind of like when South Park roasted Family Guy. Once you pull back the curtain on the way a lot of the jokes work, you can't come back. So avoid that.
Don't watch the video. Don't watch the video, Mark. Yeah, don't watch that video.
I don't need some YouTube. When your channel's called Wisecrack, we shit on things to make money. I'm not gonna give them.
Look, we go to YouTubers for boxing. We want them to physically fight and nothing else.
Well, I'm going to defend Wisecrack. Wisecrack is one of the best channels on YouTube because they are the intersection of actual history nerds and comic book pop culture nerds. It's because they relate a lot of their content to like philosophers and like the real world, like kind of deeper ideologies, which lead to existential dread and these kind of source materials. It really gives like a historical context for how these stories ever even got written in the first place. So I think it's actually a really great channel. They're actually a pretty positive spin on things, not necessarily a shit talking channel, because there is a lot of that on YouTube. So I just got to defend their honor in that regard. Mike, you're gonna have a lot of things to put up between me and Mark. Over on the K-pop music end, one of my favorite groups, but with this recent EP they put out, they're making a push to be my favorite girl group. But ITZY, they dropped a new single called Mafia in the Morning. It is hard hitting as hell, and it is a really dope music video, really cool choreography. I'm watching a shit ton of anime. When we last talked about it, I was starting on a bunch of shows, but I am happy to say a handful of them I did stick with. The big one I'm kind of falling off on now is My Hero Academia is back for their 4th season, but it's one of those problems which, goes back to all the way from Dragon Ball Z, is after you get rid of the 2-minute intro song, after you get rid of the 3-minute recap, after you get rid of the fact that they re-air scenes in the same episode, like they'll show a scene, they'll have the little where a commercial break would be, and then they come back and play the last 45 seconds before that commercial break. Like, these episodes are actually like 13 minutes long of new content week to week, and that's becoming a bit infuriating to watch. But among the series that I really like, I stuck with 86, which I kind of said was kind of a Terminator meets Hunger Games type thing. Really enjoying that. I mentioned a series called To Your Eternity. That show is just art. I really pushed Mike to watch the first episode of it. And I'm like, even if you don't stick with the series, just watch the first episode, because I want you to feel the emotional gut punch that this show encompasses in 20 minutes of, like, it tells you a full arcing story. And in 20 minutes, you come to care about everyone involved. And you're like, I don't even know this kid's name. And that's part of the tragedy of it. But truly a great series. For Slice of Life.
That kid was corny as fuck.
That's what you got to say, Mike, to when you're wiping away the tears, so you can feel a little bit more manly when you're wiping those tears away.
Yeah, that dumbass kid didn't know everybody was dead. Come on, son. My man's been alone 5 years. Ain't no one coming for your ass.
And that said, another series I tried to get Mike on. I know he had trouble after the first episode. I don't know if you went back, but my little slice of life rom-com bullshit. So the first episode is really, really mean. It's called Ijiranaide Nagatoro-san. With the English translation of "Don't toy with me, Miss Nagatoro." It sounds weird because we don't call we don't do the last name honorifics in American language, but it's got a really cute backstory. The manga is based on the author's life and about how his wife was actually his bully in high school. So with that kind of context for the show, and kind of seeing this burgeoning relationship between this girl who really she just totally destroys and obliterates this kind of nerdy artistic kid. But as the show kind of progresses, you see that there's actually like care and concern and seeing the relationship grow. And then, like I said, kind of knowing the backstory behind it just makes it a really sweet story to stick with all around. The Demon Slayer movie was out there. Mugen Train, which, by the way, #1 in the box offices this week. We talked about Mortal Kombat. It opened with the box office last week at #1, and then it had a historic 73% drop from week 1 to week 2. It's not a lot of repeat viewings out there.
Wait, how much of that is everybody who was willing to see a movie in theaters at this point all went week 1? Like, how much
they're still figuring out the market, but the typical drop off for a big blockbuster from week to week is 50. So pandemic or not, 73% is a shockingly high number. But that opened the door for Demon Slayer as a Japanese anime movie being the #1 box office. So that was fantastic. I don't know if you got to see it yet, Mike. Here's what I like about it. Anyone who's watched anime movies, particularly anime shonen movies, i.e. the Dragon Ball movies, the Naruto movies, my biggest problem is they're not canon. They're just one-off events, and they have nothing to do with the story. You'll watch it, you're like, where in the timeline does this fit in? And it doesn't. They're just kind of one-off deals. Villains are introduced, but they don't mean anything. But the Demon Slayer movie, it is the bridge between season 1 and 2. It is, yeah, go ahead, Mark.
I just want to, you guys didn't see it in theaters. Is it on Crunchyroll or something? Or did you guys actually go to a theater to see it? Or did you get it through Thriller means?
We got it through Triller. We bought it from Triller. Yes.
Damn, Mark making it real hot right now.
I just wanted to know, like, because I knew it did really well, but I was like, is it on Crunchyroll? Is it on a streaming service? Like, how you've seen it besides...
You dry snitching like a motherfucker right now, man.
I'm just a curious party hearing about these animes.
Yeah, Stephon went to the Bay Point 16, whatever the fuck that theater was, and saw the movie.
Let me tell you,
Fucking-
no one's coming
fucking
after me,
Dark
guys.
Paris
It was airing
man.
it here.
God
Eddie did
damn.
hit me up and asked if I wanted to go. And then I said, let's get it through Triller Media and support this growing business. That said, you know what I learned about Triller Media, which they've already existed in my Halo, is all those K-pop online concerts, they're hosted by Triller. Triller is the one who broadcasts all those K-pop concerts during the pandemic. So
Wait, same Triller? This is the same Triller?
I don't know how many Triller broadcasting.
Well, I mean,
companies
they
there
did
are.
it, or like, oh, I mean, they bought Fight TV. Is that who's broadcasting it, or they have a different thing? Like, how many platforms do they have? Is what I'm wondering at this point.
I can't imagine it was on Fight TV.
Well, I don't know. I'm saying
Yeah.
they bought a whole
Not
different.
Fight
They bought a
TV,
different
but
video
whatever
platform.
this parent Triller company is, they've apparently been behind broadcasting all these K-pop concerts. But so kind of all across the board. And then the last thing I'll mention was, because I would have segued into it last week, with it being the first live UFC crowd. I did my first live thing since this whole pandemic began. I went to a Warriors game. It was the second one that they hosted with fans in attendance. I believe they did 30% capacity. So it was kind of funny when they did the attendance on the big screen. And it's like, there are 3,100 people here today. And it's like, I appreciated it. You couldn't be in a group larger than 4. You were several seats away from the next group. You were a row away from the next group, front and behind you. You could only eat in like certain concourses, no food or drink at the seats. You could really hear every individual person yelling. But at the same time, it's kind of nice. And I know the players said, like, hey, having 3,000 fans versus having no fans is a world apart in difference. And, you could really feel the energy as like kind of sparsely packed as it was. I'm still nervous. I'll admit I'm very nervous. I don't like the general public anymore. I just don't want to see herds of people. But it was kind of nice going to this event. So, world slowly opening up.
Well, yeah.
Marvel dropped that goddamn Phase 4 teaser, and I told you, Bob, you asked me earlier, do I want to see anything in theater? Marvel, they're like, you want to go back to the theater. Remember how fun it is to go back to the theater? Remember how fun it is watching Marvel movies with people? And I'm like, if there's anything that got me, that Phase 4 teaser today definitely did. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, you said that you went to the game. I was talking to Mark earlier today where I said, man, I need to go to some like of these limited fan games before I go to a Niner game in the fall where it's fucking full, basically, by then,
Hey, open outdoor stadium, though, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
sometimes
I think I mentioned to you guys, but one thing I'm pretty stoked about, we're going, my family is going late June. My sister managed to get us Disney passes for the weekend that the Avengers campus is going to open in California Adventure.
That is cool.
Disneyland with 25% capacity.
That's even
That
better.
sounds like a fucking
Yeah,
dream. I can
just
actually do things, and I don't have to stay in the Anaheim sun lines like for hours on end. Like, Mark, I told you. Remember, I told you it was stupid, and then I watched the video, and you had the same reaction. Like, I'm going to do that $150 build a lightsaber experience. I'm like, who would waste their money on that? Then you watch the video, and you're like, I want to do it.
Well, you can do the droid one too. Mark and I's coworker did the droid one where you build your own droid.
That's not as cool, Bobby. The building the droid experience is not as cool as
I might
building
have to
your own lightsaber.
Venmo you some merch money, Stefan, when you go there and they got some cool Avengers shit on that first weekend or something.
I'll live blog from the all the gift shops for y'all.
All right, guys. Mike, I realize neither of us mentioned Dark Side of the Ring, by the way.
Well, officially, it's
hold
not
up.
out yet.
Officially, it's not out. Part 1 of the Brian Pillman one came out, and Mike, you didn't know who Brian Pillman was at all, I'm assuming.
I knew of Brian Pillman Jr.,
Yeah.
but that's about it.
I was telling Mike about the time that Brian Pillman pulled a gun on Stone Cold on live TV, and that was just part of the show.
That's
and we all
one
thought
of the I can't believe pro wrestling got away with this moments.
I told them what I remembered was like, you heard a gunshot, and then they went to dark, and then we didn't get a resolution for like 10 minutes. And
But you know what you realize as an adult is Brian Pillman was in the right because Steve Austin was breaking and entering into his home.
Yes, stand your ground, Mr. fucking Brian Pillman.
That
Yeah,
was castle doctrine.
I do tell you, man. I was telling Mike this, where it's like my entire childhood, I was convinced Brian Pillman was crazy, and then like I watched this, I'm like, oh, Brian Pillman was crazy. Okay, Brian Pillman was crazy. We had it right. I love that show. As sad as it is a lot of times, I just think this is an interesting industry, and it's nice for people to dive into it. And I still say everybody should watch the Owen Hart one and see if you can still watch wrestling afterwards. Because, Jesus. Anyway, that's it. That's it for us this week. Next week, we're going to talk about UFC 264? 3? 4? 3. Whatever's next. 2. It's UFC 262. I take it back. It's Michael Chandler versus Charles Oliveira for the vacant lightweight championship, which is really held by Dustin Poirier. But we know. Here we are. And co-main event, 5 rounds of Leon Edwards getting called a bitch by Nate Diaz. May result in a win, may not. But we'll see. Really good card. We'll talk about that next week. Tony Ferguson on there. Edson Barboza. Jacare still has a job. Jack Hermanson. Antonio Shevchenko. There's a lot going on here. We'll talk about that next week. We'll see what happened with Bellator. If anybody here actually remembers to watch it. Best case, 1 of 4. Thank you all for listening. I was Dr. Law. That was Kid Presentable. That was DJ Mark. And that was the great Lavender Gooms. See y'all next week. Peace out.
See ya.
Cheers.